Honkai Star Rail's version 2.3 banners for the first half are insanely good, which is going to make many players decide whether they want to pull for the new character Firefly or the Ruan Mei Rerun banner. So today we're going to analyze both Firefly and Ruan Mei's kits to see which of them you should pull for your account and which is going to be the best decision for what you have and what you're trying to go for. So let's start with Firefly's kit. She's going to be a break-focused destruction DPS, and her gameplay switches between her normal state and her complete combustion state, which is activated upon using her ultimate. So starting out with her normal state, her basic attack really won't be used too much as it's nowhere near as valuable as her skill, and her skill is going to consume her own HP while attacking a single enemy to restore what seems to be about half of her energy. And upon using her ultimate to activate complete combustion, Firefly gets a speed buff, break efficiency buff, and a break damage buff, as well as an enhancement to both her basic attack and her skill for while the state is active. The complete combustion state also has a countdown on the action order, and the state will end once the countdown reaches the top of the order. Firefly's enhanced basic attack deals damage to a single enemy while healing her, but you are going to get a bit more value out of the enhanced skill. And for the skill, not only does it deal blast damage while also still healing her, but it also will implant a fire weakness on any enemy hit by it that currently does not have a fire weakness. Next up, we have Firefly's talent, which gives her not only an unconditional damage reduction buff, but also this buff scales with how low her HP is. And this is extremely good for her because when you are trying to work toward the complete combustion state, she is going to be sacrificing a pretty significant amount of her health to get her ultimate up by using her regular skill, so this will give you a bit more comfortability to keep her alive. Lastly, for her technique, which I think is also the coolest technique in the game as of right now, Firefly will go into the SAM armor and jump into the air and will allow you to basically lock onto a target in the overworld and attack them to start battle. And once you start battle with this, it'll allow Firefly to implant a fire weakness onto every enemy on every wave of the battle, which is really crazy, not just because it's one of the techniques that can work for every single wave, but also because she is a break DPS. She's going to be able to apply that fire weakness and be able to, work towards getting the enemy's weakness broken, which is going to be insanely good for her. So that is everything we know about Firefly's kit for right now from the 2.3 livestream, but I will make an updated analysis video for Firefly once we start getting the creator experience server videos where we can see her multipliers and just get a bit more of a sense of how she's going to work with her traces and everything like that. So now let's talk about Ruan Mei's kit. Ruan Mei is a harmony support character that is not only super universal, but also has some additional synergy with break focused characters. Her skill gives all allies a 50% break efficiency buff and a 32% damage buff for 3 of Ruan Mei's turns. This damage buff is also additionally increased by up to 36% through one of her traces, but to get the maximum benefit from that increase, you'll need a 180% break effect stat on Ruan Mei. Then her ultimate creates a field that lasts for 2 of her turns, which will give all allies an extra 25% all types res penetration, and will also apply the Thanatoplum Rebloom state to enemies when you attack them with the field up. So when an enemy with Thanatoplum Rebloom tries to recover from the weakness broken state, that state will be extended while removing the debuff and dealing some extra break damage to them. And unfortunately, you can't just keep cycling with Thanatoplum Rebloom and reapplying it after it activates. You have to wait for the enemy to regain their toughness meter before you can reapply it and you can use it towards the next weakness broken state. Next up, her talent gives not only an unconditional 10% speed buff to every character on the team besides herself, but it also allows you to deal additional break damage to enemies when you break their toughness, regardless of which character is breaking their toughness, which is a pretty good amount of extra damage there as well. Then Ruan Mei's technique is also very important because it allows her to automatically use her skill at the start of battle without using any skill points. So you're never really going to have any downtime on the additional break efficiency and damage buff that you get from that. And then lastly, in addition to the trace I mentioned before with her skills for the additional damage buff, she also does have traces that give her an unconditional 20% break effect buff for the entire team and an extra 5 energy for herself at the start of every turn. She also does give herself 37% break effect through her traces, which is going to make hitting that 180% break effect I mentioned a bit easier when you pair that with the 20% break effect there, and then if you have a light cone that scales off it as well, and also relics that can scale off a break effect. So now that we have gone over both Ruan Mei and Firefly's kits, let's talk about whether or not you should pull for them on your account. While I want to remind everyone to pull for the characters that you like at the end of the day, I also do want to give my thoughts based on not only the characters you might currently have on your account, but also what teams and what characters you want to work towards using to make the best decisions for your account. So starting out with Firefly, her DPS is heavily focused on break damage, so if you don't plan to run her with other characters that either focus on break or can make her perform better, then I probably wouldn't recommend pulling her over other characters, as other DPS characters will likely perform better on non-break teams. But if you do want to run a break team, Firefly is going to be an amazing DPS option that'll be very strong in pretty much any kind of endgame content, especially even the upcoming Apocalyptic Shadow. She also does work extremely well with the Harmony MC, which gives every player who wants to pull Firefly a very strong team partner for her. Now for Ruan Mei, it does get a bit more complicated because of the role she fills. If your main goal with the first half banners for 2.3 is to get the most value for specifically a break effect team, then I do think that Ruan Mei might not have as much value as Firefly, assuming that you didn't pull for Boot Hill in 2.2. Because Boot Hill is also a break effect DPS, so he can still fill that similar role on a break effect comp that Firefly can fulfill, just with him being single target as opposed to Firefly's destruction blast damage that she can do. But if you either have Boot Hill on your account already, or your main priority right now is not to build a break team, then Ruan Mei is by far going to be the better option for your account, because not only does she work very well with the break team, so if you have Boot Hill, you can run her with Boot Hill with Ruan Mei, Harmony MC, and pretty much any sustain. But even beyond break teams, she is the best universal support in the game. It's still the best support in the game just in general. Ever since she came out back in 1.6, she has been on top, and with the way her kit works and how good her buffs are, I honestly don't see her falling from the top anytime soon. So she can be an absolutely insane addition to pretty much any team in the game. So Ruan Mei has a lot of value regardless of what characters you're going to want to use and what characters you are thinking about pulling. So to sum it up here, I do think both Firefly and Ruan Mei are going to be quite good regardless of which one you go for. But I do think that when it comes down to making the best decisions for your account and how you want to play the game, Ruan Mei is going to most often be the better character to pull for, assuming you don't have her from her initial banner. Now, as I said, if you have Ruan Mei already and you're thinking about building a break team, Firefly is going to be a great option. But if a break team isn't really in your interest right now, or you already have Boot Hill to fulfill your break team and you still want to pull for 2.3's first half banners, then I do think that Ruan Mei is going to overall be the better option there. But with that, I want to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video and haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. The support is always greatly appreciated. And I will see you all for the next one.